And I think our best strategy is to take BEC while you can. And I have mentioned this before earlier in the semester, I think. But I won't mention it again. BEC, by far, has the highest pass rates of any of the exam sections.
You think that's why they're getting rid of it?
I think they're getting rid of it because it's weird. You know, all this econ mess, and it's just kind of an oddball. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. That's what I think. Pass rates are right here, and they're getting higher and higher. Last year, they were 65% pass rate.
Isn't FAR getting lower and lower?
FAR is the lowest. I don't know if it's getting lower or not, but it's in the 40s. So BEC is way higher. So that's another emphasis on take it while you can. You will lighten your load by doing it. So I'm hoping that we're thinking about doing this now. So along those lines, here's the way it is. There are 5 testlets in the BEC section. Testlet 1 is 31 multiple choice questions. I want to make sure and let you know once you're on test day that testlet 1 may be easier than testlet 2. If that's the case, that means you did really well on testlet 1, and testlet 2 gets harder if you did better on testlet 1. That's good news, right? So testlet 1 and 2 are 31 multiple choice apiece. That's 50% of your exam scoring right there. Then you got 2 task-based simulations, and then 2 more task-based simulations in testlet 3 and 4, which are 35% of your grade. So it's like problems, you know, it's like they give you exhibits or, you know, real life. They're really trying to emphasize more true to life, like documents, like invoices and things like that for you to analyze and answer questions about. So you may answer questions by keying stuff into a spreadsheet. You might have a drop down that you choose an answer from. You might, on the reg section, have a tax form to key in information to. You might have a document that has errors and you correct it. What else? So each of your 3 exam parts other than BEC have a research testlet. BEC does not have a research testlet. It has a written communication task, which from what I understand is free points, just like the research ones. I have a document, or I have a little presentation about that I'll pull up in a minute, because I know several of us are getting geared up to take this exam part, so I want to make sure that you know what you're getting into with the written communication tasks, strategies you can use on that. That's the format of it. And I'm telling you, we are closer than we will ever be, or we're closer than we've ever been right now anyway, to being ready for this test. No matter how well you've done this semester, you're not going to be any closer than you are right now without starting completely over later. So be efficient, get on it, and build on what you definitely already know. The breakdown is kind of useless because it's such a wide range, but corporate governance, which is now called enterprise risk management, internal controls, and business processes, is 20 to 30%. Econ is 15 to 25%. Financial management is 10 to 20%. Information technology is 15 to 25%. All that accounting, cost accounting stuff we did at the beginning is 15 to 25%. But these pass rates here, super high. So this is something you want to do. If the CPA exam idea is new to you, you need a 75 or higher to pass. This is not a percent correct. This is just a score. Their scoring algorithm is a mystery, so don't even worry about it. Just get in there and do your best and let them score it. There's no penalty for incorrect answers, so guess everything, answer every question. Your score is weighted based on how difficult your question is. So if you're seeing a bunch of difficult questions, you have a better chance for a better score because of that. So don't get freaked out about that. And there, that last thing's talking about not for task-based simulations, but for your multiple choice questions. If you do really well on that first test, then your second one will be harder. Testlet 1 starts at what they call medium difficulty. Testlet 2 will either remain at medium difficulty or become more difficult. You want it to become more difficult. That sounds like what you ended up having on
Yeah,
it.
it was a lot harder.
I'm feeling good about your audit score.
I really hope so. I felt so good once I saw those first two questions. I went to the last question and started backwards because the first like 5 were so hard I couldn't even think through them.
That's awesome. It's such a good feeling coming away from one of those CPA exams knowing you did well.
I hope so. I really did. I felt good about it.
That's good. So that's our just overview of the BEC stuff that I think we need to take into account because I really want us to all be thinking about doing this. Let's talk about these written communications that we just mentioned. So that's your 5th testlet. This is unique to BEC. So let's talk about this. So this is the only exam part that has a written communication task. And it counts for 15% of your score. So that's awesome. That's a lot. That'll help you. So what it is you have to type out a response to a question in the form of a memo or a letter or something related to some scenario. These scenarios could be anything, and it could be some topic not covered in BEC, something that's in our audit or reg. Don't worry about it. They're not worried about your knowledge of that topic, as weird as that may sound. They don't care if you tell the right thing. Their goal is to test your ability to write, not your knowledge of the topic. So that kind of brings some strategies into the forefront a little bit. Your strategy is to focus on the presentation of your response rather than the information. So you want it to be logically organized. And here's the scores are going to be based on these things. Organization, so the structure, the ordering of your ideas, linking of ideas to another. So you want a nice little overview, thesis statement, or whatever, unified paragraphs with good transitions. It's going to be based on your development. So you're going to need a good presentation of some supporting evidence. So adequate details, definitions, explaining terms, using examples, rephrasing ideas. And then finally, just good grammar and punctuation, and correct word usage, and correct spelling, and being clear and concise and complete. So the advice AICPA gives. All responses should provide the correct information, hopefully you know it, in a writing that is clear, complete, and professional. Only the writing samples that are generally responsive to the topic will be graded. So don't go off topic. That would screw you up. You wouldn't want to offer illegal advice or anything like that. So that brings us into things you want to avoid. Don't go off topic. Stay on topic. Don't worry about if you're giving precisely correct information. Just do your best. Don't give unlawful or unethical advice. Don't make really, really bad factual errors. Those would count against you, but minor technical errors wouldn't be a big deal at all. Don't use bullet points. Don't use abbreviations. Don't use charts. Just write. Advice: spend no more than 20 minutes on each written communication. There's 3 of them, so we're budgeting an hour for these things. Be very clear. Make sure you have a beginning. Make sure you have a middle. Make sure you have an end. So it can get a little bit repetitive there. It's almost like, here's what we're going to do, here's how we did it, here's what we did type thing. Machines are grading these things. So keep that in mind. You know, think like grammar checks and that kind of thing. So make sure you have complete sentences. Make sure you use good keywords that machine will pick up. Repeat words from the question is one of the best pieces of advice you need to kind of remember. So whatever words they use in the question, try to reuse them. Examples. That's always helpful, right? So here's a past CPA question. Your client is considering voluntary adoption of Section 404 of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which involves management assessment of internal controls and independent attestation. The client CFO has asked you for advice regarding the benefits of voluntary compliance with the requirements of Section 404. Write a memo to the CFO discussing the benefits of adopting these requirements. I think we could all work our way through that, right? We could all pick up these keywords and these keywords and write something out that makes decent sense, even if we don't know exactly what Section 404 addresses, right? Past CPA question. The CEO of a company has asked for your advice about changing the company's inventory method from FIFO to LIFO. We could all start writing about that, right? As the controller, you believe that LIFO is the best methodology for the company. Write a memo to the CEO supporting your recommendations to change to LIFO for inventory costing purposes. In your memo, explain the advantages and disadvantages of each method and identify conditions under which LIFO might produce advantages over FIFO. I figure things are already clicking in your head about what you could write about that, right? Start talking about tax advantages and things like that. And, you know, if you want to get really fancy, you could talk about the advantages or disadvantages of how that might affect ratios, like the current ratio, right? Be higher or lower depending on which method you chose. So you could really impress them on that. I've got a lot listed here just to give you an idea of what these are like. Here's one that says company changed its credit policy several months ago, hoping to increase sales. Okay, we can wrap our minds around that, right? Since then, there's been a dramatic increase in the number of accounts receivable past due. Okay, no problem. Currently, the company calculates the allowance for doubtful accounts based on the percentage of the ending receivables balance. The company's controller now thinks it's more appropriate to use the percentage of sales method to calculate the allowance for doubtful accounts. Write a memo to the controller comparing and contrasting the two methods. Recommend the method you think Gold should use. Give reasons. We could work our way through that, right? We wouldn't have to know precisely what those two methods are, but we could make something up based on what they're called, right? And that's a good example of none of these has been BEC content topics. They've all been FAR or audit. But that's okay. We have enough of a foundation to reason our way through there and write something. You're a finance manager at an investment firm. CEO has asked you to help train newly hired staff by explaining the difference between leading, lagging, and coincident economic indicators. Prepare a memo to the new employees discussing the different kinds of indicators and provide examples. And that's from a topic from this week's reading. So, and then finally, another last one is a recent statistical analysis by the HR department has revealed that the average age of its employees is over 40. Management is concerned about the potential impact of this on the company's pension plan. HR manager wants a defined benefit plan that awards compensation based on the highest 10 years of earnings, excluding bonuses. A CFO prepare a memo to management explaining advantages and risks associated with this and what alternatives might be available. Make stuff up, right? Think it through logically. What could be the benefit of this? If you're a little bit wrong or whatever, it won't count against you. Machines are great in this. Machines can't really find all this accuracy. Right?
How long does it have to be? You might have said that.
I don't know how long it should be. I don't
You
know
said
if
it was like a beginning, middle, and end. Would you think like 3 paragraphs?
yeah, I would probably shoot for probably 3 paragraphs, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. I wouldn't do it that long. Get in and get out. Cover what you need to cover. I figure you'll run out of things to say pretty quick, so
Yeah,
it won't end up being that long.
If you don't know the topic.
Right. But yeah, these are, from everything I've heard and read, pretty much guaranteed points for the most part, as long as you know how to handle them. So that's 15% of your grade in bag. So now all you have to do is answer some multiple choice questions and do a few problems and you're good. I've got this document saved for us. So there's a good article, it's a really good article that tells about the steps involved with the CPA exam process. Go through the whole thing, but I want to show you what it looks like. So this is just called CPA exam application process. How to apply, schedule, and sit for the exam. And they keep this thing updated. They updated it today, actually. So I don't know what they updated it for. But they have step by step everything you need to know. Make sure you're eligible. Send in transcripts. Submit the application and fees. Obtain your authorization to test. Obtain your notice to schedule. Schedule your exam with Prometric. Pass the exam. So, and they talk about details of each of that, and they'll give you things to click on for different things. So it's a really good, nice step-by-step how to do all of this. So I recommend you follow that. Most of us, I think, are taking the exam in Alabama. So there's a link to Alabama's requirements in case you need any of those. I figure most of us are fine with eligibility and things. But there's everything you know. There's a application there. We'll get moving on it with the Alabama State Board. If you're taking it in a different state, every state has a website for you to go to do all of this. So that's how you can get the ball rolling. So I'm hoping more and more people after this class will start thinking, okay, we'll take this thing in February. You know, I've got half of November, all of December, all of January to brush up on this better than I have. Catch the stuff we haven't been able to cover, and I'm good to go. You're so close, so take advantage of it. Keeping in mind, once you get that score back and it says, hey, you passed, clock's ticking. You got 18 months to pass the other 3. Pressure's on. So keep that in mind. Don't drag your feet and lose your exam. That would stink. You should have it expire. So your clock's about to be ticking on audit now, right?
I hope it is.
Yeah, you hope it is.
I get the score back on the 23rd.
Okay.